In the fall of 1999, Hurricane Floyd made landfall in North Carolina, spreading chaos and destruction across the southeast. In eastern North Carolina, as many as 20 inches of rain fell. Rivers poured over their banks and inundated over 10,000 square miles. 52 people were swept to their deaths, and tens of thousands were driven from their homes. But this is not the story of the flood, or of tireless volunteers piling on sandbags, or dramatic helicopter rescues. No, this story takes place weeks and months after the floodwaters receded, after the media has left, after the curious and the callous have moved on. It is the story of those who looked out at their world turned upside down and asked, "God, what will I do?" And of those who looked into their hearts and asked, "God, what can I do?"
You know, everybody's pulling everything out, and you know, all their belongings are on the side of the road, and I had to really pray and ask God to give me strength, because everything that we had, we lost.
And being old like I am and sickly, ain't nobody gonna turn no money loose on a person like me. I don't feel that.
It was a big mess. I lost everything I had. I had this other church group that come by and see me, and they were supposed to do the work for me, but later on they backed out. But the man told me they couldn't get volunteer help anymore like they had been getting.
When I was in the house during the time that the flood had gone and the water had receded, and I was ripping everything out, and there were moments where I got tired and I was frustrated. I just didn't say, how can all this be, and what am I gonna do, not knowing that God was gonna work it out. But within myself, I kept saying, how can all this be, and what am I gonna do after the flood? And it was a lot of moments of despair.
I was so devastated, crying and all this thing. I just didn't think I'd be able to come back here and live.
It was times when I would sleep first part of the night and I would just sit up the rest part, not knowing which way to go, which way to turn.
After I got back to my daughter's house, to think that so much, you know, I went to church and I have served the Lord, and yeah, I asked the Lord, why me, Lord? I did.
The only thing I know to do, I had a charge card with Lowe's, and I could go over there, you know, and get the material and maybe take what little bit I got from FEMA and pay labor. And that's what we were planning on doing. I told them we could go that way, you know, and go until we run out of money, and that would be it.
I told the guy down to the shovel, I said, I got to pinch myself to make sure this is happening to us. I just could not believe it. But one thing, I kept my faith in God, and I kept my faith too in the people, because in my mind, I believed from the start of this thing, was somebody was going to help us.
But it is not just loss or tragedy that makes us turn to God for help. In the midst of plenty, we find ourselves asking God to intervene in our lives, to give us guidance, direction, and hope.
For the last couple of years, I was just looking for guidance. I did not think that I had quite found what God had wanted me to do.
In 1972, I experienced Hurricane Agnes in central Pennsylvania, and I was involved in restoring my in-laws' home there, and I know what devastation floods can cause.
UMCOR and UMVIM had decided that all of the conferences in the Southeast jurisdiction should form a early response team. And we had just finished up our training when Hurricane Floyd hit.
It's not glamorous work. No adrenaline surge, no media coverage. It's dirty, sweaty, and even dangerous. Along with the mud and debris, the floodwaters brought a whole host of infectious bacteria, cholera, typhoid, hepatitis. Mold infested every corner of the houses, a threat to the health of relief workers and residents alike.
I was very surprised. I expected to see houses really messed up and everywhere. And you drive down the streets and the houses look pretty normal until you walk inside. And when you take off a door, there was a hollow door and water would run out of the door. And this was a month after the flood.
Well, first of all, we had to tear everything out, sheetrock, insulation, and we had to wait for a dry-out process for about a month or so before the studs were dry enough for us to start back building.
But in spite of the dangers and the obstacles, they come to North Carolina. Small teams of volunteers working wall by wall, house by house, neighborhood by neighborhood, each answering a silent call they could not ignore.
God doesn't speak to me, and it's just a feeling inside. It's something that I need to do.
I mean, a talent is nothing if you don't use it. Love is nothing if you don't give it away. If you can't share love, it's nothing.
I've always been sort of interested in this type of work, painting, drywalling, a little bit of carpentry. I think maybe God has answered my prayers because I think this might be the type of thing that He wants.
And day by day, as the rebuilding continues, faith is rewarded with blessing. Witness is rewarded with love. And lives torn asunder begin to mend.
We've had the opportunity to witness to people that were down and out. And as they're seeing things happen to their homes, their spirit is uplifted.
I was ready to give up several times, and when you're at your lowest is when you see these people come in and they're giving their time and their energy and their skills, and you're ready to give up, and they give you the hope to go on to the next step.
The United Methodist Church continues to answer God's call in North Carolina, but there is still so much left to do. For every house rebuilt, another stands empty. For every life made whole, another waits in limbo. When you give of your time, you bear witness to the goodness and grace of God's mercy, and in return, you will witness the strength and power of God's love.
And I think this flood brought a lot of these people together where they want to go. I think they realize and see things that they haven't seen before.
Sometimes it takes a big disaster for some people to see what's directly in front of them. Sometimes you need tragedy in order to see reality. The reality that I see out of this disaster is that there are people out there that care, and there are people that will give their time without asking for anything in return. And this is something that I've never been exposed to in the past.
It's something special. It's special. It's special. I didn't know no people far away as some of these people come had a good or hard they got to come down here and help people in a needed time like this.
I'd like to thank every one of them personally if I could, but I know they're from a long ways. A lot of them came from different areas of the country to help out. And I'd like to say that I appreciate every one of them's help to help me get my life back together.
And I can't forget the Methodist people for what they did. I think about a lot of other people, how they have come in the past, even on Saturday mornings, and had come to the door and knocked. But the Methodist people, they showed up in a time of trouble, and they showed me the goodness of God in their lives.
And some of them I'll probably never see again unless I meet them in heaven, you know. But I really do appreciate each and every one, what everyone has done for me. I can't thank them enough.
And I just don't know how to, gosh, I just don't know how to thank them. Thank you.